What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have some crazy things to go over today. Facebook stock is getting destroyed in after hours following their earnings report. Spotify and Qualcomm are also moving in a just crazy way. So we have some huge news in today's video. Stick with us to the end. We also have some good plays for tomorrow. But Tom, we're not going to waste any time. What's going on in the market?
Yeah, Facebook is down a ton, Mike. We fell below $300. We're all the way down to 250 and we're still falling. We are going to open tomorrow with Facebook going all the way down to $250. I just cannot believe that on the daily chart. Like, we have not been at $250 in almost like a year and a half. So it's just crazy to see numbers like this. Obviously Facebook came in with some rough numbers here. I'm going to bring up the article by CNBC. We can see Zuckerberg does not look too happy here, and I don't blame him. Whenever we see this, is their EPS came in under the expectation, their revenue came in slightly above, but the big deal, Mike, is that their daily active users were at 1.93 billion versus a 1.95 billion expectation. Looks like we are seeing a drop there, and on their monthly active users. So that's a pretty bad sign. And then also their guidance for the next couple of quarters regarding active users was also not too good. So it's pretty bad to see this out of Facebook. And, we've been seeing some of these big stocks like Facebook and Netflix just get destroyed with earnings lately.
Exactly. So Facebook, in like a fundamental way, is actually a really strong company for the long term, but we can just see their stock is getting pummeled in after hours. They said part of their weak guidance has to do with inflation, privacy changes with Apple's iOS platform, and mainly stuff like that. But besides that, the stock's going crazy. Their earnings weren't terrible, though, and Tom, I'm not going to lie, I'm probably going to sell to open some puts on this one tomorrow and collect some premium and maybe even buy some shares.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a good idea. We've been seeing lots of companies tank down like this on earnings, and some of the companies tanking down are pretty solid. Like, obviously, Facebook might have some issues here in the short term, but they reported decent EPS, decent revenue. They just had some bad guidance. But, over the next 6 months, what are we going to have come out? We're also going to have Truth Social, or DWAC, coming online. That might also be affecting some of these social media companies and could also be part of the reason why Facebook's going down, although they obviously would not want to admit that would be part of their reason for the guidance. But either way, I mean, it's such a big drop. Look at $250. That's actually a pretty big support. So yeah, I mean, I think selling to open some puts will be a really good idea, Mike. And picking up some shares of this one for the long term should be pretty good, because once the metaverse starts getting established, you would think that Meta would have a pretty big advantage there.
Exactly. All right, so Facebook is not the only stock going crazy today, Tom. We also have some wild movement out of Qualcomm in after hours. Initially, they were just tanking down really close to that $170 level, but it looks like they're trying to come back up.
Yeah, and this one actually had some pretty good numbers. Like you mentioned, they're coming back up, and some of these stocks lately, like Qualcomm and then Microsoft a little while ago with their earnings, they tanked down and then they came right back up the next day. And I'm curious if Qualcomm is going to come back, because to be honest, like, if we look at Qualcomm's article here on CNBC, you can see that they actually beat on their EPS, they beat on the revenue, and it's also being reported that they beat analyst expectations for their guidance and are offering a strong outlook for the second quarter, yet the stock is down over 8% here in after hours at the lows. Like, I just could not believe that this one was down after seeing the good numbers coming out. And, they even had good guidance. Of course, Facebook's falling because they had some worse guidance for the next couple of quarters, but, Qualcomm had some good news and they're still going down.
Tom, don't you love it when a stock just beats earnings and gives great guidance and still falls?
Yeah, it's exactly what you would expect to happen with earnings, of course. And just like we saw with Microsoft, they had a very similar situation happen just last week. And you can see they tanked down in a pretty big way, but then actually recovered back up by the time the market opened. And with the way we're seeing Qualcomm come back up here in after hours, I'm going to be pretty curious to see if this one can go on a run tomorrow or not. But either way, it sucks to see it down like that after having good numbers. And we just saw a pretty big chip stock with AMD fly up yesterday with their earnings.
True that. All right, Tom, the last major earnings report today is Spotify, and it's not looking too good so far. So, how do their earnings look?
Yeah, this company's had some issues lately with the Joe Rogan controversy, and then also they also issued some pretty bad guidance, Mike. Whenever we go look at Spotify here, honestly, they had some good numbers come out. Like we can see that Business Wire has a really good chart here. This shows all of their data, and we can see their monthly active users grew 18% year over year to 406 million. That's near the top of the guidance range, which is great to see. Their premium subscribers grew 16%. And overall, they had good numbers. Their gross margins were at 26.5% in Q4 at the top of the guidance range. So it seems like overall they came in with some pretty good outlooks, and they also had good numbers. And once again, they ended up going down. Now they do have a little bit of bad guidance going on over the next like couple of quarters with some subscribers and just growth overall. And they also have that controversy, which could be a reason why they're down.
Exactly. So basically, just like Tom said, their numbers weren't bad. Like they grew at a pretty nice pace over the most recent quarter. It's just their forecast is a little bit low for the future, which isn't normally a good sign. But with everything being said, Tom, I'll say like Spotify stock has been on a wild ride over the past couple of years. Like what are like the next major levels for this one? Because over the past couple of years, Spotify went from lows of 103 all the way up to highs of 387, and now we're back down to 163. So like what levels are you seeing?
Yeah, the next major levels I'm looking at, we're going to open tomorrow all the way down here on this daily chart around $160, which is going to be pretty low. And that's if it doesn't keep falling here. If we keep going down, I would really watch for the 150 support. That seems like a really good psychological level. There's also been a ton of bounces with this stock over the past few years at 150. So I would really eye that level up. Honestly, whenever we passed 150 the last time, we started going on a pretty big uptrend. So I would really hope that 150 holds up, Mike. If we end up blasting through that to the downside, then I would maybe look at like 138 to maybe like 137 down here. But to be honest, I think 150 is going to be the main level to look at over the next couple days.
Alrighty, Tom. So it's Wednesday. It's been a wild week already. But I know we do have a couple other major earnings reports later in the week. So what do we have on the schedule?
Yeah, later in the week, tomorrow, we're going to have Nokia before market open. I know that stock is going on a bit of a pre-earnings uptrend here. We also have Penn Gaming. That's going to be huge. Obviously, they're big for the gambling, sports betting, and just everything like that. So that's going to be a very interesting one. They've also been in a pretty good setup lately. And then tomorrow after close, we're going to have the big ones, Mike. We have Amazon, Ford, Snapchat, Pinterest, Activision, and Unity. That is a pretty big lineup there. Those are some pretty key stocks. I'm going to really be watching Unity and Amazon, of course, and Ford is also going to be pretty interesting given everything with the EVs lately.
All right, there we go. So we're set to have a volatile tomorrow as well. So good stuff there. And then, Tom, do we have any other major news from today?
There wasn't too much major news, but there was some pretty bad numbers that came out. The ADP reported Wednesday that companies slashed 301,000 jobs in January, which was not good. And then CNBC reports that we actually do have the January payrolls report coming out on Friday. And they're saying that this could be rough. Apparently some big banks have some pretty bad estimates, with one of them saying that we could possibly come in at a loss of 400,000 jobs. So that's definitely not good news there. And if those numbers come in bad, the SPY might start to tank off a little bit. And as we can see, the SPY is actually starting to turn over here in after hours with some of these bad earnings reports.
Interesting. Yeah, it's been wild. So looking at the SPY, Tom, do you see like any major support or resistance levels to watch like over the next couple days?
Yeah, as far as support, as we start to fall down here, it looks like there's definitely some intraday support from today around 453, but I'm gonna really be watching the 450 resistance. That looks like a pretty big level. We definitely bounced there a lot over the past couple days. If we break through that, I'll be watching for that 445 to 446 support after that. But I'm gonna really watch 450 tomorrow. I think that'll be a pretty big level. And then we almost had a double top today around 457.50 to 458. So definitely watch that as well.
Sounds great. And then, Tom, we had so many comments on yesterday's video related to Google. So I just want to cover this really quickly and talk about the upcoming 20-1 stock split. So basically, Google's split is set to happen on July 15th. Nothing is changing about the company. Stock splits do not affect the company. It does not make them more valuable or less valuable. Basically, the share price will be divided by 20 and the shares outstanding will be multiplied by 20. Apple and Tesla had their stocks run up when they announced their stock splits about a year and a half ago. So that is one important thing to keep in mind. But I just know there's a lot going on with Google right now, and a lot of people have their eyes on them. So I figured we'd take a look.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a big stock to watch. Like you said, Apple and Tesla had some pretty big run-ups whenever they first announced that split. And for those few weeks heading into it, I mean, they were getting pretty explosive. So as we start to get closer to that split date, I'm going to really keep my eyes on Google. And, I'll be honest, they didn't fall down too much today. We actually saw Google and AMD hold up pretty well. Some of these stocks were up, like 10, 12% in after hours yesterday. So they did pull back a little bit. We can see Google ended up still up 7%. And I'm definitely going to still be watching on this daily chart, Mike, because they almost broke that all-time high yesterday, or they did break it, but just slightly. And I'm going to be watching for more of a run here, especially with that split news.
Sounds good. So with that being said, I just want to give a giant shout out to our member of the day, which is Spacely. Huge shout out, Spacely. Thanks for being a great member of the Stocked Up community. Tom and I really appreciate all of your positivity in the community, and thanks for joining the streams all the time. We really appreciate you. But Tom, with that being said, let's definitely showcase our new dashboard. So earnings have been wild lately, and if you're looking to, analyze a stock to maybe hold it for, a couple months or even for the long term, definitely check out that first link in the description down below. You can type in any stock ticker and instantly get access to over 10 years worth of financial data. It's a brand new tool. Prices will definitely be rising. I use it every single day. And with the market as crazy as it is, you really got to look at fundamental data right now. So definitely check it out. It's that first link in the description down below. Prices will definitely be rising in the future. But Tom, do you have any last minute plays or anything before we get into the momentum plays?
We've just had such a crazy week. There's going to be some pretty big earnings coming out tomorrow, so be aware of those. One earnings report that kind of went under the radar was Electronic Arts, Mike. And, they did fall down yesterday in after hours, but they recovered up pretty well. Honestly, closing pretty high today at 137.50. They ended up 5%, and they were actually tanking off quite a bit yesterday. So I just think that this is a pretty big turnaround out of this company. And if we see the gaming sector start to get a bit of a boom here, that might really help out EA, Activision, and a couple of others. And talking about Activision, they're going to have that deal with Microsoft fairly soon. So that's going to be interesting for them. But either way, some of these gaming stocks are doing fairly decent on earnings, which is good to see. And I'm really hoping that Unity can kind of, turn things around tomorrow also.
Alrighty, so good stuff there. And let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And with the first one, we have Wells Fargo to the upside.
Yeah, with WFC, go ahead and make them break out above $56.05, right around that $56 even mark.
All right, with the next one, we have Coca-Cola also to the upside.
Yeah, they almost double topped here. Make them break out above 61.30.
All right, and with the last one, we have Baidu also to the upside.
Yeah, and with these China plays, these things are all over the place. I really hope to see Baidu up tomorrow. Go ahead and make them break out above. They kind of double top intraday around 159. If they end up not breaking 159, if they fall down below 156, it might be a good put play, but I would almost eye it to the upside only.
There we go. So we are watching these 3 plays for potential day trades tomorrow, only if they break the levels Tom listed. But besides that, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you're new to the channel, definitely consider subscribing. We post brand new videos every single day. And if you're looking to analyze stocks using our new dashboard, you can look at 10 years worth of fundamental data instantly for any company. Prices will be rising pretty soon on this as we continue to add more and more updates and features to this tool. It's that first link in the description down below. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.